Oh, Warner Brothers, what are you doing? It seems like every week there's some new fuck-up or sudden change of direction in the DC universe, whether it's the disastrous release of Birds of Prey, the embarrassing debacle of Wonder Woman 1984, or the surprise success of the Snyder Cut that they immediately shat on by nixing the prospect of future movies. Their track record so far is the cinematic equivalent of watching a drunken fat positivity activist trying to do the 100-meter hurdles, stumbling and flopping from obstacle to obstacle, and occasionally making it over one through nothing but sheer dumb luck. It seems like they just can't decide what they want their cinematic universe to be, and a revolving door of producers and senior executives with totally conflicting visions has only added to the chaos. For example, consider 2016's Suicide Squad, an absolute mess of a film that basically got torpedoed by a potent combination of clueless studio interference, misguided reshoots and botched edits, completely wasting its talented cast in the process. And don't worry, the drinker will get to that one soon enough. Believe that! But it's okay anyway, because now we have the helpfully titled The Suicide Squad, a quasi-sequel slash reboot slash reset slash spiritual successor. Oh fuck it, I don't even know anymore. The point is, after throwing David Ayer under the bus and blaming him for their own screw-ups, Warner Brothers found themselves a new director and a new way forward for the next movie. And the other day, we got to see the first trailer for The Suicide Squad. But is it any good? The trailer kicks off with the squad gearing up to rescue Harley Quinn from some kind of hostage situation. And look, it's Rick Flag from the first movie, only this time he's wearing a fluorescent yellow t-shirt. This film is so damn zany, it's unbelievable. Seriously though, if for some reason you enjoyed the dark, murky brown colour scheme from the first movie, you're probably not gonna like this film very much. Everything's bright and garish and turned up to 11, kind of like the pages of a comic book now that I think about it. But just as the squad are about to storm in, look who shows up. See, it's funny because she rescued herself without them knowing.
Here to save you.
You were gonna save me?
It was a really good plan, too.
Alright, the joke's still going.
You can go back inside and you can still do it.
That's patronizing.
And still going. Damn film, you're really gonna milk this one, aren't you? Anyway, the premise here is pretty much the same as the first movie. A group of assorted criminals, monsters, and generally naughty people are once again recruited by Amanda Waller to go on a mission with a very low chance of survival. Suicidally dangerous, you might say. But because half the cast of the first movie have bailed out now, the trailer has to spend a fair bit of time introducing the newbies. First up, there's Not Deadshot, who just so happens to share most of the traits, abilities, personality, and backstory of Deadshot. Coincidences are funny things, aren't they? Only this time around, he's played by Idris Elba, the thinking man's Will Smith, except without the charisma or the star power or the natural flair for comedy. Moving on. There's also Michael Rooker in a silly wig. Not much I can say about this guy really, but if he's still alive by the end of the movie, I'll be extremely surprised. Peter Capaldi's also here, and to be honest, it's nice to see him playing someone who isn't Doctor Who. You were wasted on that show, Peter! There's also a man-eating shark that can talk. That's a thing which is in this film. Oh, and Captain Boomerang's back, because I guess Jai Courtney's not exactly busy these days. So now that we've bonded with the new squad, it's time to suit up and get ready for really laboured jokes.
If we find out any information you give us is false, you die.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
What? No.
Wow, you're just gonna keep rolling with this one, aren't you?
If you cough without covering your mouth...
Harley, although that isn't an open invitation for you to cough without covering your mouth.
Okay, maybe the jokes aren't panning out, but the action's got to be kick-ass, right? Oh. You know, this is all looking a bit uninspired to my eye. And of course, one last killer gag to round things out.
We love the rain. It's like angels are splooching all over us.
You know, I tend to have a love or hate reaction to most movie trailers, but in this case, I was struck mostly by how little impression the Suicide Squad made on me. It's just several minutes of bland, unremarkable, low-energy nothingness, and by the time it was over, I had to watch it again just to remind myself what I saw. Which is pretty fucking disappointing, considering this is a movie with talking sharks, anthropomorphized cats, and giant walking starfish vanishes. This should be the kind of stuff that leaves you staring open-mouthed in disbelief, but the lackluster way it's presented here just left me with no shits to give. It really feels like we've been there and done this before. And that criticism pretty much applies to the jokes as well, which is a bit of a problem because they make up the bulk of the trailer, and I assume the movie. Most of the gags here are cheap and obvious, they drag on way too long, and the movie tries so hard to sell them that I actually started to get Ghostbusters 2016 vibes. And one of the biggest offenders for this kind of forced, desperate comedy has got to be Harley Quinn. Seriously, Warner Brothers, you need to stop trying to make this character happen. She's not going to happen. Harley came across as abrasive, annoying, and totally out of place in the first movie, and those problems were only magnified in Birds of Prey when we had to spend 2 fucking hours with her. And to be honest, this trailer does absolutely nothing to change that opinion. On the plus side, the one thing that did pleasantly surprise me was John Cena. Wrestlers turned actors have a pretty low success rate generally, but he actually looks pretty comfortable on screen, and I think the guy's got a natural talent for deadpan comedy that'll serve him well. His lines didn't exactly have me rolling on the floor, but his delivery at least got a chuckle out of me. Considering I'm Scottish, so I only experience human emotions a couple of times a year, that's not bad. Clearly, James Gunn has embraced the madness of the comic books and used it as an excuse to throw in the most outlandish characters available, which is pretty much what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Not many people would have expected an entertaining movie featuring a living tree and a talking raccoon, but somehow he made it work. And maybe that's the real issue at play here. The Suicide Squad feels like a movie going through the motions, recycling successful strategies that worked previously, but without the same passion and creative energy behind it. For some reason, people seem to think of James Gunn as some kind of cinematic messiah, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why. Yeah, he's a competent filmmaker who did a great job with Guardians of the Galaxy, even if the second one was a bit of a letdown. But apart from that, his resume basically consists of a handful of low-budget horror comedies of middling quality. I guess what I'm saying here is that I don't really understand the blind faith that people seem to have in the guy. Least of all Warner Brothers. It's pretty obvious they expect him to work the same magic on Suicide Squad that he did on Guardians, which is a nice idea in theory, but the reality is that simply hiring a guy who did one good movie and expecting the exact same result is pretty fucking naive. It's a bit like bringing in Joss Whedon at the 11th hour and expecting him to turn Justice League into the next Avengers. And well, look how that one turned out. Now, I could be wrong here, and the finished product might be a million times better than what we've seen. That would be just swell, and I'll happily eat my words if that happens. But let's be honest, the best material tends to make its way into the trailer for obvious reasons. It's there to sell the movie. But right now, I can't say I'm particularly sold on the Suicide Squad. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.